Top of the morning, Dan and Amy. Yeah, one follow-up remark to the conversation we had earlier in the program about this state-level program that, of course, disproportionately impacts the city, but everybody's paying for it. The $9,000 in rental assistance to migrants, $9,000 for over a 6-month period, which includes assistance with moving in and a starter kit to furnish the apartment, in addition to all of the other benefits, including migrants, the children of migrants who are attending government schools. Particularly in that latter point, just remember this against the backdrop of the elimination of the tax credit scholarship program at the hands of Governor Jelly Belly and the Democrat socialists in charge of the state and the city. So that was explained as it's negatively impacting the funding of our government schools. So American citizens and Chicago and Illinois residents that are low to medium income, they don't get access to the schools that people with more money do. But migrants, many of whom are in this country illegally, their children get to go to the same schools as their kids, the legal residents, the American citizens, at their expense, at the expense of those same people denied opportunity scholarships for their kids. Does that make sense to you? I'm paying for somebody who's in this country illegally to send their kids to the schools that my kids are compelled to go to in Chicago, for example, based on my address and my income. And then the state comes in and provides more money from me to them for rental assistance and starter kits to furnish their apartments. But benefits for me to level the playing field in terms of access to educational opportunity? No, that's too expensive. That's the philosophy of your ruling class in this state. So if somebody can wrap their mind around that and explain the logic of it to me, boy, I'd love to hear it. For more on the border security issue, and other matters, we're pleased to be joined by former State Senator Darren Bailey, former Republican gubernatorial candidate last year against Pritzker, of course. He's now a GOP congressional candidate challenging Mike Bost in the Republican primary down in southern Illinois. Darren Bailey, thanks for joining us. Appreciate it.
Hey, good morning. It's glad to be back with you. Thank you.
So what about your posture on the situation at the border and as it relates to Illinois now with the migrants migrating to Chicagoland and throughout the state, of course, because Illinois is a sanctuary state. What's your posture on that, and how does it differentiate in a meaningful way Mike Bost's posture?
Well, my posture on it is it's about to get real. It's interesting that Pritzker and Johnson finally demand that the wall be, continued and fill in the gaps. I think that's interesting. These illegals are going to be distributed in small towns all over the state. There's whispers of that happening right now, and essentially, the difference between me and my opponent, and it's interesting, just last night in Washington County, of course, I spoke first, and he got to speak after, and he told the crowd that for the life of him, he can't figure out why I'm running against him. And the reality and the truth of all the problems that we have in the state of Illinois stem from failure of Republicans standing on the moral and the financial high ground. Republicans sell themselves out every time to get their names on a bill. They sell themselves out. They compromise. They believe that hey, I got to give and I've got to take. I think Illinoisans are ready for true leadership. I spent 2 years trying to get people out to vote, and we could have won. We should have won. And it seems like every argument that we posed against J.B. Pritzker is now coming true, and he's backpedaling, and it's such a shame.
Well, how is Congressman Boss failing Republicans in Illinois? Explain that.
Well, I love that, and we've got access to Conservative Review. We've got access to Heritage Foundation, CPAC, Turning Points. These are conservative scorecards, and if you'll do exactly what I did, when Cindy and I got back, we soaked up the grandkids, and I went back to the farm for a while, and we just had this yearning pulling at our heart that just our work wasn't done, and things are still, we don't have that leadership, is what I found out. And so I simply started looking up some of these conservative scorecards, Conservative Review and Heritage Foundation. If you'll look those up, you'll see someone that's got an F- who's been compromising our values. You will see bill by bill for the last 8 years or 9 years now that he's been voting. It's interesting. He's got a 100% scorecard this year since he's had a primary. He upped his game to about 80% when Mary Miller got involved. But prior to that, we're talking Adam Kinzinger class. We're talking 20 or 30% of the time is all that he was voting on our conservative values. And down here, that's our problem here in Illinois. We listen to grand speeches, we pat people on the back and elect them and tell them to go get them, and then we fail to follow up with them, encourage them in the good times, and hold them accountable in the bad times. And my congressman down here has had way more bad times than he's had good times, and I'm going to hold him to account to that.
Well, what specifically with respect to border security? Is there daylight between the two of you?
Well, the simple fact that he really refuses. Where's the fight, Dan, with our with him? Where is the fight in Congress to stand up and demand that we actually do something? I think if Republicans would have been keeping this hot on the front press and messaging, then all of a sudden now that even governors like J.B. Pritzker are standing up and asking Biden for something to be done, I think we would be better prepared. We went 9 months so far this year. And what has been accomplished in a Republican-controlled House? Where is the message? And here we sat. They took the whole month of August off. Where are we right now? We have no budget. We have no ag bill. We have absolutely nothing. And now they want to blame a few people on this chaos of not having a leader. We don't have a leader because we don't have leadership. And I think that if Republicans – go ahead.
Yeah, on specifics, I mean, I understand from Jeannie Ives that Illinois, the budget this year has about $400 million in rental assistance. I guess most of that's going to go to people in this country illegally. It's rather breathtaking. In addition to that, we know from, say, for example, the Catholic Charities in San Antonio that they're using federal funds to fly migrants from the border to Chicago and elsewhere. I mean, as a member of Congress, will you move to press the House Republican caucus, particularly if you're in the majority, to eliminate federal support for states that are using federal dollars for supporting people, either moving them around or providing them rental assistance or anything else, people in this country illegally?
Absolutely, and that's the messaging. Whether it's our education, whether it's abortion access, it's all of this federal money that's being pumped in here and just given. There has got to be reckoning and accountability with this money, and everything seems to be on autopilot. States get what they get, they do with whatever they want to, and now we see this disaster taking place, whether it's with these illegals, whether it's with education, whatever it is. It's not working, and the people don't realize that because they're not being educated. I think that if you look at my last 4 years and my run for governor, I think that's what you see. I think that's why I've been blessed to be able to do what I've done, because as I have learned, I have educated, and the people have become empowered, and the people are frustrated. So the people need to know that here's the plan, here's some answers, here's what can be done. And without that, we're just floundering in an ocean without a rudder or a sail, and that's the biggest difference right there between my opponent and myself.
We're also floundering right now without a House Speaker, and I wonder what your view is on who that person should be and whether or not it was judicious for Matt Gaetz and a few others to put the House Republican caucus in this position?
Well, I personally think so because I go back again for 9 months. If there's one thing, whether it's here in Illinois at the state level or whether it's at national level, one thing that they do the same thing every year, it is to prepare a budget. And instead, 9 months went by. The month of August, everybody went on vacation, and now they had 6 weeks to finish everything. So yeah, I think there was a problem there, and I think it needed called out. And I think it's a shame that with the Republican minority that we can't find a leader. I think that's a shame, and I think that speaks to the brokenness of the Republican Party. So I wholeheartedly support Jim Jordan. I know there's question whether or not he can reach that. I pray he does. But I think the Republican Party, not only in the state of Illinois, but across this nation, has got some work to do. We've got to get our act together. That is the root of why we are facing all of these problems.
And with respect to a range of other issues, including support for assistance to Ukraine, continued military aid to military and other aid. We're basically running a PPP program in Kyiv right now. General aid to Ukraine, military and otherwise. General aid to Israel. Well, in that case, specifically military. Give us your viewpoint on Ukraine and Israel and whether or not they're parallel case studies and our response should be similar or there are points of differentiation that need to be understood.
Well, first of all, will always stand resolute against a blank check being written. I think there's a lot of in the early days when Russia invaded Ukraine, it was obvious. We needed to step in and do something, but here we are. All this time has passed, and just continued blank checks have been written at the peril of our nation. The question is, where is our military readiness? You take Afghanistan, you take that pullout and all the equipment that was lost, you take the money and equipment that was sent to Ukraine, you take the missiles and the money that we're sending to Israel right now. Where does that put us at? Where does that put the greatest nation on the face of this earth at? I don't think anyone knows that answer. And I think when that answer comes up, I think we're going to be does that have anything to do with this week-long saga that's drawn out, before Israel, has hammered back on Hamas? I don't know, but I think we have some serious problems here at home. I personally, I do see a differentiation between Israel. I think we must have Israel's back regardless. Israel is the kingpin to the Middle East. Biblically and strategically, Israel must be. They are our staunch allies. They must be protected, and I think we've got to get answers as to what's going on in Ukraine with their leader, with where the money went, with what's taking place daily. And I don't see any of that being demanded.
Well, in regards to Israel, do you think President Biden is doing the right things?
Well, verbally he is. It appears to be that he's, again, I am very concerned about our military readiness, and I'm concerned as to the part that plays in this delay that's taking place, and possibly our response. Joe Biden does what he always does. He's talking, but we'll see when the action comes.
What about American troops as it pertains to Israel? We have more than 24 Americans who were killed in the Hamas attack. We've got others missing, so that distinguishes it from the situation in Ukraine as well. Is that something that you're open-minded to, deploying American troops, authorizing, if there were a move to authorize the deployment of American troops in Israel? Would you support that?
Well, I do believe that we must protect Israel at all costs. I'm glad that Israel has said they don't want that intervention right now, and I think in the days ahead we have really got to begin to focus on an America First agenda where we close our borders and we protect and we get strong and healthy again here in this nation, because that is another reason why I'm running for Congress, because I am gravely concerned that this nation financially we already know morally that we are depleted, we are bankrupt. So what is, are the days of this great nation stepping up and doing what we did in World War I and World War II? Could we even do that again? And I'm reading a lot of reports and hearing a lot of conversations that answer may be no. We can't even find enough people to work, to keep business going as usual. And I'm very concerned about where we are at right now. But yes, I think Israel must be supported as to what they need. They're not asking for that, and I think we have got to spend these next several years strengthening ourselves right here at home and closing that doggone border and stopping this nonsense of these people coming across here illegally.
But with respect to Americans, particularly Americans that are missing or holding people to account that are responsible for American deaths, should that be something where we wait to get the high sign for Israel, or should we make an independent decision about that?
Well, I think it's obvious. I think Israel's doing everything that they can do, and I think that until we get a better handle, which, like I said again, Dan, this is a little different and awkward than I think anything that we've been involved in before, because there just doesn't seem to be a lot of information. That just listening to the news cycle, we're hearing the same thing over and over for the past week. And just as far as I've noticed, just recently in the last 2 days, has there been a hotline for people that may be trapped in Israel, or for families? I've had families reaching out to me just asking, what can I do to help get them in touch with someone, because they have relatives and friends there that they haven't heard from. So that tells me that there is quite a bit of dysfunction taking place, because they have been, calling in to state agencies, and they're not getting any answers.
He is former State Senator Darren Bailey, former GOP gubernatorial nominee last year, you'll recall, ran against Pritzker, now running for Congress in the Republican primary against Mike Bost in Southern Illinois. Darren Bailey, thanks for joining us. Appreciate it.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you. And he joined us on our turnkey.pro answer line.
Before you see it on TV, share it on Facebook, or read about it in the paper. Hear it here first. This is Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer.
You've heard me talk about my love of coffee over and over again. I'm here to tell you I have discovered one of the best brews I've ever tasted, and a company that I cannot wait to support. I'm here to tell you about